Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Learning Outside the Lines with Kyle and Glenn, or Glenn and Kyle. It doesn't really matter. Glenn, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, man. How are you?
You know, it's been great weather. My favorite part, honestly, this couldn't have probably happened at a better time of year between it's mild, it's not too hot, it's definitely not too cold.
That's
actually
true.
hasn't rained a whole lot.
That's true.
We had a nasty storm,
Yeah.
over, I guess, not quite 24 hours ago, right? So, I mean,
It's pretty bad.
there's
Yeah.
some stuff going on.
Definitely. But I mean, you're right. It's beautiful outside. We got a water table set up for my daughter, which is pretty great. You've got something new for yours.
Yeah, I feel like it's real braggadocious, though, man. Like I feel like talk about first world problems. With we got her an inflatable bouncy because what she misses most right now is going to like bounce houses and being able to,
Dude, that's awesome.
Playground.
It's so not braggadocious because, I mean, just think, Kyle, we're not spending any money on gas. We're not spending any money on, all those pencils that we have to buy our students. We're not spending, all the papers and highlighters and just all the extra stuff. We're saving all that. So bouncy house, it balances out.
Does it?
It does. It does. It does. It does.
Well, besides the water table, anything else that you think is worth sharing?
Yes. Today, speaking of which, I brought in a little prop to share. But I've been getting some yard work done, and these suckers have been trying to grow into my house, like all along the front of my house. It's just ivy. I'm like, oh, ivy's so cute. Until I started to pay attention to what this ivy is doing. It's not okay. Like I had to go in there and literally like Hulk grip it out and rip it just off the house, out of the front. I think I blacked out for a moment in the battle against it, but I won. I'm here. It's there. It's done. Well,
yeah, it's resilient too, man. That's the worst part. It's real.
I'm about to dig in there and get it all out. It's going to be a multi-day thing, I think. So that's good.
So my wife has gotten really into this fun. She's doing it on Instagram, but essentially what happened is for Easter, my daughter's grandparents built her like a dinosaur diorama background thing, and then gave her a lot of old school dinosaur toys. And I think it might have been more for me and my wife than it was, honestly, for our daughter, because my wife was all about it, right? So she's been creating these interesting, like, pictures of these dinosaurs hanging out in their diorama and interesting. Well, I'm just going to show you, right? So
yeah.
Let me get a few of these lined up for you real quick.
Excellent.
It's charming.
Adorable.
Yeah.
No,
so here we go.
That's awesome.
This is her Carol Baskins that you're going to see in just a second. Here you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's terrifying, isn't it?
She's making clothes for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's having a good time.
That's next level.
Here's another one. Can't forget your face mask when you're out in public doing your groceries.
Oh yeah, I like the donuts and the trees. Very tropical.
And we all need a little bit of pool time every once in a while.
Oh yeah, that umbrella is adorable. I like the sun and the pool. I mean, it's way better than a tar pit.
Someone probably had a little too much.
Yeah, those adult beverages got to it. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Very much worth sharing if you ask me. So
definitely.
I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I mean we're all figuring out our own ways to get through this, but artistically, pastorally, like whatever it takes, right?
That's
whatever
right.
It takes.
Well, real quick preview. a little bit later, after we get past the digital teaching hack, we have another special guest today. He is a U.S. history teacher at Berkmar High School, teaches multiple levels of it. Marcus Medina is going to join us. What's exciting about Marcus is he's just a great human being. I talk about him being kind of like a light in the educational world. He's real low key to some degree, but the way he engages with kids is really spectacular, and I love visiting his classroom. Anytime I've actually been in there, I spend more time than I probably should just watching what's going on. So excited to have Marcus on. But before we get to that, let's get to our digital teaching hack.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a tool that we've been allowed to in Gwinnett County to use, Google Voice, for contacting parents just through our cell phones. And for those of you guys that aren't in the know, Google Voice basically creates a phone line for you. It's an app you can have on your phone, and basically you do phone calls and texting through the app. Now, you're going to have to check with your county as far as what's allowed for contacting parents and students. Like for us, texting is a no-no, but a lot of counties are having great success with being able to text their students because they are texters, they're not emailers. So being able to have those quick interactions with students, it's just another platform to do that. Now, this is something I want to share that I discovered. This is what it looks like actually on your computer. And I'm not going to click the little phone there because that would splash everyone's phone numbers up there that I've called. But yeah, that like my number's bad enough. But that basically allows you to do all of your phone calls and texting through a web interface as opposed to your cell phone. And for me right now, like things are very flexible, especially with my with my little one trying to teach, trying to contact parents. So before, I never would have wanted to use a computer to make a phone call. That just would have been extra. Now, this is something that I think will actually serve me a lot better, especially being able to just copy and paste phone numbers, being able to quickly reference what numbers I've called. You can even, I believe, export the data from stuff as well. So it's just another way of trying to stay connected. Also, maybe perhaps documenting some of those phone calls that we have to make. And, it's really just a lot easier, I think, than trying to tote around a cell phone sometimes too.
Yeah. Yep. So that's great. I mean, yeah, I think we've talked a lot about communication with parents and students and otherwise. So a tool, right? Just another tool in the toolbox in case people weren't using it, or maybe they knew that they had access to it but had not been using it. So that's a little bit of vote of confidence about the utility of it, right?
Definitely. And I mean, again, if you're using your computer, copying a web link on a computer over to a text message is a lot easier to do on a computer than it is a cell phone sometimes. And plus, I don't really want to be using my personal cell phone for work. That's something I'd like to keep as a separate world. So it's just, maybe helpful.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's get into our other portion of what we always do on the show, which is what's the good word?
I'm excited.
So what's the good word is our opportunity to bring on guests. And thankfully, really, since our first episode, we've been able to line up somebody who is actually willing to talk to us, which I don't know what is wrong with people, but we're very thankful that they're willing to give us their time of day. So as I previewed earlier, today we've got Marcus Medina, who is a U.S. history teacher at Berkmar High School. Berkmar is a college and career readiness high school. So he's also been an academy lead for their construction and architecture academy. Or I think it might be architecture and construction. I'm sorry if I mixed that part up. But he's been involved in academy work as well as teaches AP students, honor students, and those on-level, what we call college prep students as well at the school. So we're excited to have him on as he's popping on.
Hey guys, I was just doing a little reading up in here. I just put that down. Well, how are you guys doing? I'm Marcus Medina, also known as Mr. Medina, depending on who is talking to me. So thank you guys for having me on here to begin with. It is a pleasure to see that we are all doing our own thing to get through all of this.
Yeah.
But as Kyle mentioned, yes, I've been at Berkmar. This will be year 6 for me. I teach A-Push as well as college prep and honors, U.S. history. I am the academy lead over construction, so tying that into the lens of U.S. history has been a really exciting aspect to me. I tie in a bunch of building aspects and Legos, and as you guys can see, I kind of have a larger-than-life personality from the things that I bring into the classroom, things I wear in the classroom, and how I approach education.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's so. One of the places I want to start actually talking to you, which by the way, I want to point out, you probably saw the shock on me and Glenn's faces. We did not
Yeah.
know he
know.
was coming back with
Nope.
the wig, and that was perfect.
Yep.
So
Big surprise.
one of the things that I want to point out is before we went into the situation with the pandemic, you were already doing a lot to flip your classroom. You were making your own videos, dressing up like you're kind of dressed up now to interact and try to bring history to life.
Yes, sir.
So the transition, I would imagine, has been pretty smooth for you, but kind of give us a preview of what's kind of changed, if anything, about the way you've been trying to get information to your students.
Honestly, it hasn't changed much except for the time frames, right? Obviously, we have to be much more understanding with kids in general, regardless of what school they're at. Understanding that this is you throw a different schedule, a different aspect into anything when it comes to teaching. Kids just they're like, whoa. So I mean, even with this aspect, like, you have to just be really understanding, but nothing's really changed. Like I made sure early on in August, we had those routines built in. So nothing for me has really been that much of a difference, except for, just like I said, those hard deadlines. What I do now is I kind of combat that by essentially making hard deadlines a couple days before it's actually due, so that it helps me keep in communication as well as keeps the kids responsible, because they're like, hey, Mr. Nina, not going to be able to do it by this time. Can I have 2 more days? Which normally I always do. So if I say it's due on Friday, it's usually mainly due on Monday, or I'll give an extension. It just depends on the circumstance. Like it's one of these things that I've done online. I got my master's through online. So the big thing is understanding and being able to communicate with the students and having that open policy of, that's a big thing. So that's kind of the only difference, really. And then messaging me at like 1 a.m. on Remind, it's like,
Yeah.
It's like, come on. Like, I look at the timestamp and I'm like, what are you doing at 1 a.m. in the morning? Like,
That's me though, so I get it. If I could, I would go to bed at 7 in the morning. So I think that's just when a lot of our students are up working right now. It's
100%.
It is funny though. I know I've gotten some of those emails, and what I think really freaks them out is when you respond, because you're up working too, and they're like, "Whoa, yeah, what are you doing?" Yeah, it's like, "Yeah, I'm up too. What's up? Come at me. Yeah, let's do this." And expect me to respond. Let's do this now. Come on, you want to get in Zoom? Let's just figure this out. Let's go. Yeah.
Well, so one of the things that you just said when you talked about, these routines were set in place from the beginning, and we've actually heard several guests say that now. And I know that doesn't help the teacher who is struggling right now with like, man, I've not had to do this. I think about like the first year teacher especially, or even the second year teacher, and all those routines that you wanted to have in place that you didn't have a chance to build, or you just learned to develop over time.
Right.
But I do want to encourage that, let this be that learning curve, I suppose, about routines that you can put in place and how valuable they are. When life throws us curveballs, those routines are absolutely invaluable to continuing to run the ship the way you want to run it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, one thing. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. Okay, so I actually created a Google Doc link for every individual student. And that has helped out with organization and literally everything that at classwork and Zoom sessions, if they're taking notes, everything. And I've just gone over and been like yesterday we were going over with my A-Push class, period 4. So I put period 4 on everybody's. Now, granted, I only have 2 sections of A push, so I only have about 60 students in total. So it would be a lot harder if I had like 4 or 5 sections to keep up with that. But it really helps with organization for the kids, as well as it helps the teacher, because all I got to do is go to that specific, and I already put their names on it, and I have a folder in it, and I just click on their name, and it has all of their work since we started this whole digital learning thing back in, it was like 4 weeks ago now. It's been 4 weeks. So it helps with organization. That's a huge thing with kids, because I don't know if you guys ever seen a kid's book bag. When they open it up, it's just paper everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
From this year, from last year, from like 3 years ago. So I think that's something that I definitely caught on quickly, was where a lot of kids were sending me stuff, and it was hard for me to keep organized. So I quickly went to Google Docs and made a folder, A push. You can put, if you teach language arts, if you have different, preps of that, turn that, and then just literally create a Google sheet or whatever it's called, and then put their name on it, and just replicate that for as many kids as you have, and put their names on it, and then you just share it with them, and they are only the ones that they have access to it. So you don't have to worry about. I know a lot of times people are like, yeah, but if I open it up and I see someone else working on it, it pushes my work. So that's another way to combat that. So just make individual ones. Does it take time? Yes, but we have time. Like,
front loading.
We have a lot of time now. So with that being said, it's the game. This is the game. This is the new game that we're playing. We can sit back and complain about it. We can grope about it, or you can pick up a shovel and start digging. I mean, that's the way I look at it, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the way you got to look at it is we're very fortunate, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in America right now that have been furloughed or are not able to work. So I've never been a complainer. It is what it is. And, so Gwinnett County has taken care of us. And like I said, the only thing you can do in this situation is, it is what it is. Turn on some music and just start digging.
Yep, I'm with you.
Shovel and dig.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm with you on the front loading aspect. I did something similar with some of my groups. I basically made each group their own folder, and it was annoying to build a sheet for every single group and put it in their group folder. And I replicated, I built the tool for them to complete and then put it in their folders. But the front loading part does take time. It is repetitive. It is a lot like data entry, but I would much rather do that organizational work for them as opposed to expecting them to do it for themselves.
Exactly. And a lot of times, I mean, I know for me at least, I teach at a Title I school, that shouldn't really be a big thing, but a lot of times.
No, it is. Yeah.
They don't have they don't have laptops like we do. I mean, we were given a laptop by Gwinnett County. Like, you know what I mean? Without that, I wouldn't have one. So a lot of kids are doing work on their cell phone. So if you can send them that Google link, it literally helps them out tremendously. And remember, kids are taking like 7 classes. You know what I mean? Like, realistically speaking, like I only took like 2 classes a semester when I was getting my master's, right?
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, they're taking 7.
Yeah.
So like, we gotta also be realistic with, just kids are kids. I don't remember being organized at 16, 17. So if you can do something as small as make a Google slide for them, I mean, come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's cool.
That's
really
huge.
good advice.
And so the next thing I was going to get into, and you mentioned it, right? So Berkmar is a Title I school, and like you said, it probably shouldn't be something, but it is something. Title I schools, there's an impact there, and there's a reason why the federal government injects funds into it to support it. But what I really want to bring up there is not so much about, it's so challenging to teach in a Title I school.
Right.
There are challenges, no doubt.
Right.
What I want you to be able to speak to is, what are some of the misconceptions people have about Title I students, kids doing this? I feel like this is a great opportunity for you to be able to speak to who your kids really are, because it's so easy to stereotype those communities and what they do, what they don't do. So just speaking from your heart, man, as a teacher, as someone who's in the trenches with them every day, what do you want people to know about Title I schools or the kids that you're working with right now and how they're thriving, hopefully?
I mean, honestly, so here's the thing, like, I don't know anything else besides a Title I school. So I don't have anything to really compare it to. But kids are kids. Like, that's the, you know, like, we're adults no matter where we come from, right? And I don't want, I mean, like, okay, I don't want to throw the race or anything, but like, I'm Hispanic, you guys are white. That's it, right? I mean, if you cut me, I'm gonna bleed. If you build a relationship or a rapport with the kid, they're gonna work with you. They're gonna actually communicate. And I don't care what type of economic status you want to put any school on. It's all about essentially how you approach it, the mindset that you're gonna have, and the expectation. Like, kids are going to exceed or fail depending on how you essentially go about certain things. And now, not everything is on the teacher, I will say that. But I mean, I think this is a really good metaphor. I remember there was a person that was talking to me about the expectation when he is giving his little kid a bath. Like, the expectation is, all right, you clean yourself off, and then when you're done to hang up your towel. However, when it comes to the mom picks up the towel and puts it for him. So do you see how the difference of expectation? So, I mean, the kids are going to rise regardless of whatever happens, especially if you get a kid curious about something. I don't care what type of limitation you want to put or label it. You get a kid curious and excited about something, they'll come back with so much information, more information than you've ever been taught or even could find. And you'll be like, how did you? And they're like, oh, I was up all night doing blah, 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 blah. And like, they'll just tell you so much stuff that you're just like, yeah, I didn't know any of those things. So, I mean, it's a title. Okay. I mean, like, that's all I can really say. My kids work hard. Are there challenges? Yeah, but if you go to an affluent school, are there challenges too? Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a title. Like, I don't get caught up on that. My expectation is here, and that's it. Like, I don't really look at it any different. I'm not, I think it's empathy versus sympathy. Yeah. Being empathetic towards the situation, being like acknowledging it, but also being like, all right, like, I get that, but boom, we still got to keep going. So I think that, I think that's the big thing. Is expressing to the kids as well as like that's life. Like, regardless of wherever you're at, you're gonna be hit with different things in life, and you have to just be like I said before, just turn on the music and just keep shoveling, and also working with them. I mean, some kids are afraid to ask questions, so you have to also kind of almost in a way bait them into asking you a question. So I mean, I don't know, labels are labels. It is what it is, But yeah, my kids work hard. And I mean, I would put up my kids against any other kid, like 100%. And I promise you, I mean, I'm going to brag, obviously. They're going to be so much more intuitive, creative, just because of what I bring to the classroom. I'm not bragging that other teachers don't, but I don't really focus on all that other stuff.
I mean, building relationships and setting high expectations.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yep. Definitely.
And being fair. Yeah. And being fair. Like, I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of times teachers don't realize, like, life happens, things happen. And if kids are opening up and being like, yo, I had to work till 1:00, and they're willing to actually have that conversation with you, I mean, cut them some slack, or he or she, or, give them a little, be like, all right, like, look, you still need to do this. And, you can, if you want to put 10 points late, if they're trying to do the work, like, that should speak volumes, especially with any type of kid, whether it's a Title I, affluent. Like, if a kid is coming to you and humbling himself or herself, that's a big thing at 16, 17, 15, 14, or even at 30 years old. Yeah. So I don't get caught up in those titles, man, but I mean, I know they're there for a reason.
No, I mean, and you speak to a really important point there, right? Is it about mastery for the student, or is it about dumping the hoop? Is it about, well, this is the way I had to do it, so you need to do it the way that I did it, or the way society expects you to do it in this particular one, killing creativity, the innovation goes out the window, and it's not real learning, which I think we all struggle with as educators of, we become educators to a large degree. One, because we like school and it needs to some degree, and we also we love learning, right? You know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So at the very least, part two, the learning piece. So let's not let's keep kids learning by keeping that curiosity you were talking about, but let's also keep doing it through empathy. And through just a desire to understand that we're trying to get them to be able to do skills that will lead to whatever they want to do in life, right?
Definitely.
All right. Well, we're kind of up against it on time, so we're going to move to what we call the outro. And the outro today is something that I thought was really interesting. So this kind of goes along with you were talking about empathy. So right now, socio-emotional learning and the opportunity to help students kind of work through their anxieties in an uncertain time, particularly right now. So there was doing some research, and I came across this thing called Super Better. And it's developed by this woman who just really kind of interesting history. She basically, she's a game designer. And she went through a traumatic brain injury at one point. Not traumatic in the sense that it caused her, obviously, to lose a lot of her cognitive skills. It was a really terrible concussion that had a hard time healing. And so she started to do some research because she got to the point where she had suicidal ideation, right? Like she didn't even really want to live anymore. That's how bad the healing of this concussion went. And so over time, she ended up developing this tool where it was about kind of addressing the science behind how to help the brain heal. And so that's what this tab right here is about. I don't want to go super deep into it, but some of the things that I want to show is basically she was taking how games, video games specifically, help us meet a lot of our innate desires as humans, right? And how important that is to our own emotional growth. And so scrolling down here, some of the things that you actually do on this platform is it's about kind of challenging yourself and overcoming things that could be seen as failures. But you do things like in a video game where you collect power-ups, or you find and battle the bad guys. You recruit allies, right? You bring friendships into it. You adopt a secret identity by creating an avatar, which is always a bit of a reflection of who we really are, right?
Yeah, always.
So just a powerful tool, and I found this because this was like a counselor resource, but I feel like there's potential in the classroom space too, just to tap into a unique opportunity like this. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the woman who started it, Jane, this is actually a really great TED Talk. I watched all 20 minutes and I was riveted. She talks in the TED Talk about how she's going to give everybody in that room 7.56 minutes more to their life. And she actually shows the entire mathematical equation at the beginning, and then she spends the rest of it using video, gamification, and socio-emotional learning to get them to where they get that final number. And it's pretty, it's really interesting and neat. And I know I had never heard of this, so I wanted to share it with the world. I think it is an incredible way to help students and maybe even just help adults for that matter.
I'm thinking this would be a really cool club.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just to do with a group of students, this looks really cool.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of what it talks about. So, like, here's the rules or the things that you do, and then the psychological strengths that come along with it. Creating things like emotional control, mental flexibility, a sense of purpose, being socially connected, self-efficacy, all that's done through gamification and doing it in a meaningful way. So absolutely encourage people to check that out. So again, that's superbetter.com.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Well, Marcus, hey, thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you for being the teacher that you are. I know that you're so cool. Got to appreciate you. Yeah. I appreciate you as someone who just gets to come in and check out what you do from time to time. And we hope everybody out there keeps watching these and keeps encouraging others to watch it. We'll keep making them as long as people think they're valuable.
Yeah. Give us feedback. Tell us what you like. And if you're interested in being a guest, just reach out.
Yep. Yeah. Again, you can find me on Twitter at the Prof Jones.
And I'm at gchant668.
Oh, all right, Instagram. A Push with Miss Medina. Check them out. Be good.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.